My beautiful people. I had just participated in a VR for Canine Piper, and as I was doing that, I was enjoying an Avo. This is an Avo Synchro. It's a Nicaraguan cigar, and it's actually been a pretty decent cigar. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. On the light, what did I write? On the light, I have, it was a little salty, like a salty wood. It's what I picked up. If it's wrong, it's wrong. A little cinnamon on the finish. There was a considerable amount of spice or pepper through the retro hell. And a little later, I got a hint of caramel. So that's what it was. On the first third, I had picked up some earth, a hint of vanilla, still some spice on the retro hell, and some pepper. It does taste a little bit of a creamy note, so that is my initial light in the first third. So the burn has been good. The ash held on for about 3/4 of an inch and it fell, so it's not a strong ash, excuse me. So what are you doing, Crosby? Well, I had said I was going to do a VR for, well, I've got 2 more to do. I've got one for Stephen Waters. Stephen Waters. Stephen Waters. I'm going to have to go inside a minute and get something that I wrote so that I can complement the VR that I'm about to do. With that being said, this is a warning to those that this may not be a video for everybody. It talks about family violence, family abuse, and so Stephen asks, what is the most emotional or moving experience you've had? Yeah. So I had started to do one for Ghost Cobb. He asked something, I think, a little similar to it, and then it got to where I says, man, I don't know if I want too many people to know about certain parts of my life, but I will share some today. So I was mentally and physically abused by my father when I was a child. I had 4 siblings. It appeared that I was the one, for some reason, that he took some of his frustrations out on. I don't know. I was the middle child. At a very young age, I remember, I think I was, I don't know exactly how old I was. But I remember I was wearing a brand new shirt. I remember it had buttons on it. I really liked that shirt. I think I was about 5 actually. I'm sitting in the living room floor. I cannot tell you what had happened as an antecedent to trigger this behavior. But he grabbed me up, took me to the bedroom, and went to beating me with a belt for some reason. I cannot, for the life of me, understand what I did. I don't know. I guess the reason I remember this so well is because he ripped my shirt, and when he did, the buttons, I could hear the buttons hitting the wall. I peed myself. I remember I had the hunt look like, what the hell did I do? I had no idea. But this continued throughout my childhood. I was very careful around him. I was scared of this man. I was 7 years old. We had actually moved from a little town called Maud, Texas. Moved to Huntsville, Texas. Wasn't there very long, but there's a little black lady that lived right next door to us, and she was the sweetest lady. She had 2 boys and a daughter. The 2 boys were considerably older than I was. The daughter was about the same age. I was walking up the road when I turned and looked, and I saw my dad punch my mother right in the face. It scared me so badly. I ran, I cried, I was screaming, and I ran to the little black lady's house and just sobbed, and she just held me for a couple of hours, seemed like, and told me everything was going to be all right and all that stuff, man, shit. Anyway, I can't remember, but we moved back to Maud. He woke me and my sister up one night. Man, we was young. And Mama was on the floor bleeding. Come in there and yanked us up out of the bed. Said, come here, I want to show you something. Well, we get up, rubbing our eyes. What? He straddles Mama. Slap, slap. And man, me and my sister just went to bawling. What can you do? Reading one time. He comes in there and he takes a lantern. If you ever been in the country, you know what a lantern is, but he takes that glass and he breaks it, and he starts pouring that kerosene all over the table, all in our food. Threatens to burn us and burn the house down. Anyway, I wound up staying with my grandparents for several years. My family actually moved off a couple of times. I was 13 when they moved back. I cried. I didn't want them to move back. Anyway, they moved back. Guess where I had to go? Well, at 15 I was kicked out of the house, and I've been out ever since. So here I am today. 53 years old. I lost my mother when I was 27. 3 years ago, they called me and tell me my dad is on his deathbed. I've got a 6-hour drive. You know, I never even took my grandchildren over there. When I lived in Texarkana, he lived in Texarkana, I was working and never called me. Every now and then I'd go over, but I'd never take my grandchildren or my daughter. I left. I went to Texarkana to the hospital he was at. All my family was there. I'd lost a sister, but I had my sister and 2 brothers there, aunts, uncles, friends, other family members, and the next thing I know, everybody was gone. Sister told me, she said, if anything happens, just let us know. And I'm like, well, guess I'll stay here. I watched him take his last breath. It hurt because I had so many questions as to why. So I say he's in heaven because it's not me to send him to hell. He has to go somewhere and answer for what he's done. It's the man upstairs that'll decide. So I say he's there at the gates, or will be one day. I'm going to ask you, Stephen, if you do not mind, if you still have it. No, I won't. Anyway. I've been resilient. I bounced back. I'm going to tell you something, guys. I never took a hand to a woman. I ain't going to have a woman. I got to smack around. That woman in there, I love that girl more than anything in this world. My daughter, my grandbabies. I ain't never spanked a kid. Got on to them, but I ain't going to put my hands on another human being. Unless it's needed. If I'm in fear for my life, or somebody disrespects my mind, you better watch out. You know, that reminds me. So I opened the door for my missus. You know, I cut a T-bone. I give her the best side of it. Man, I'll do anything. And I'll open the door for strange women, you know, like in a store or restaurant or something, you know. But around here, they're a little different. They don't really say thank you much here. I guess they think you want some. I'm just brought up a little different. Respect the women folks. Kids. I remember there was a lady stopped to get some gas up the road. There was a woman get out of a pretty tall pickup, had it jacked up. She reached in there, grabbed a 5-gallon jug, filled that thing up. I told her, I said, I'd pumped my gas. She finished pumping that gas, and I walked around the gas pumps and I said, ma'am, you want me to put that in the back of your truck for you? She said, I got it. I'm like, hey, shit. Some people are just rude. I'm going to do a video before long. Rude. Stephen, I apologize. I wanted to read something. I'll be right back. So, I have a poem that I wrote in college. Yeah, not the one to write poetry, but I had to pass. So here's what I wrote. Hope you enjoy it. Through his small eyes, everything was large. He learned quickly who was in charge. Through his small eyes, things were bad. The tears and fears were brought from his dad. As his eyes grew, things were clear. His eyes still blue, but damp with tears. Looking through his eyes, one then the other, he watched this man beat his mother. Years of tears caused him to drown, and through his eyes he peered with a frown. His eyes now open, his tears were gone, just as he was hoping to prove the man wrong. The chance came that he never had to stand up to the man he once called his dad. Look at me now. Look at what you've done. How could you have done this? Hell, I'm your son. The man became mad. He didn't explain. Though he was sad, he came with pain. But this time was different, unlike before. He grabbed the man first and he took him to the floor. Through his teary eyes, he saw the man's pain. Even through his cries, he hit him again. The man pleaded. The man begged as well as pleaded. It was now over. He got what he needed. He was pleased at what he did. The man will never hurt him because he's no longer a kid. His eyes now tame, his frown a smile. He forgot about the pain because he walked the long mile. His mother is now gone and he's making his own plans. No one will ever hurt her. She is now in God's hands. Looking through his eyes and back on his life, he shares the story to his friend, to the woman he calls his wife. So, yeah. So, Stephen, this was an interesting gaw, to say the least. I enjoyed it. I do hope that this is a submission that would be okay with you. Yeah. So, with that being said, I will close this. If anybody that happens to be subscribed to my channel and has not checked up Stephen Waters' channel, I encourage you to please stop by his channel and show him some love. Stephen, you're a great man. I give you a lot of respect, and I really appreciate your contribution to this great community. You've even, well, I'll end it there. Thanks. We'll bid you a good evening. Today is the September the 11th. It's Monday, and I'm enjoying a cigar. And I was able to find a small can of root beer. Boy, I'll make your sticker back out. Alright, well, I'm gone. Have a good evening. Thanks a lot.